some pretty valid criticism in the electric vehicle world of cars that are not built on a dedicated electric vehicle platform. Specifically, electric vehicles that are built on a platform that also offers hybrid or plug-in hybrid variants. And to be clear, we have criticized that engineering decision multiple times on this channel over the years.
That said, that criticism didn't stop me going ahead and buying one. I bought the 2019 Niro, or Niro EV as it was known in the US, a car which is compromised by having a multi-fuel platform, but at the same time is one of the best electric vehicles we've driven for a long time.
At least when it comes to the price point. That car is no longer in production because it has been succeeded by this, the all-new 2023 variant. And if you do the maths in your head, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this is just a mid-cycle refresh with a new front end and a few nips and tucks. But that's not actually true.
No, when the Kia Niro came out in 2019, it was actually based on a platform that had been around since 2017. It was one of Kia's most popular mid-size cars.
Now though, new platform and some new tweaks. Slightly longer wheelbase, slightly longer overall vehicle length, and some really important technology tweaks that gives this over-the-air update, that makes it smarter, and most importantly, makes it charge more quickly. Oh, and one other thing. Kia is very keen to point out in its press release that this has 50% more cargo capacity than a Tesla Model 3. Ouch.
One of the first things to strike you when you open the hood of the new Niro EV is that at last it has a frunk. You could get an aftermarket add-on with gas struts and a frunk for the old Niro, but in this version it finally comes as standard. And it's not big, but it's reasonably sized. Inside here we have the vehicle to load adapter, which plugs into this charge port at the front. It is convenient to have it up here, but there is actually storage at the rear for it. There's also room for the free 110 volt charger that is included with the car. That charger, yeah, it is little, but as we've pointed out with other vehicles, some of them aren't coming with a charger at all now, so a free granny cable is something to be applauded. Otherwise, under here, there is enough space to store your USB stick, as is traditional, and there is access easily there for the 12 volt battery, which is useful if it goes flat, which did happen in my old Niro before I replaced it with a larger capacity battery. Hopefully though, the new Niro has the updated firmware, which means that it can top that battery up from the main battery more than once a day, so you should be avoiding that problem. There is of course a filler for the screen wash and access to the various other ancillaries that might need topping up, 120,000 miles down the road. But other than that, it's a fairly clean layout. There's not a lot of nice cladding around here, but this is a car made for a price point. So it's all in all something that doesn't really disconcert. At the front, the old Niro could best be described as inoffensive. It didn't really leave any lasting impression, it was just there. It's not unpleasant. But the new Niro makes a statement. It talks to you about Kia's design intentions. They want this vehicle to stand out, and it does. It has these really beautiful lines around here with sharp, angular headlamps. And then you have up at the front, where it is best placed, the charging door. It feels about the same as the old Niro. Perhaps it moves a little more smoothly than mine, but these little charging plugs, they do feel a little cheap. There is, however, a really nice indicator and a light down here to help you see when you want to plug in. The coefficient of drag is 0.29, helped in no small part by some clever aerodynamics that we'll talk about at the side, and underneath a neat aerodynamic belly pan.
If you park the old Niro EV and this Niro EV side by side together at night and looked at their respective silhouettes, you'd not be able to tell a whole lot of difference between them. And that's because even though this is built on the all-new K3 platform, this car's wheelbase is only marginally longer than the original Niro EV. Its length is only marginally longer than the original Niro EV, and their ground clearance and roof height are identical. But during the daytime, you do start to notice some pretty big changes in the design language used for this car. First off, you see this lovely swoopy indicator in the mirror. You also get these snazzy new aerodynamic alloy wheels, this integrated roof rail here, and this variant of the Niro EV also gets a tilt and slide sunroof with a manual cover activated from inside. These rails are nice and sturdy, and in fact are some of the most sturdy roof rails we've seen on an EV all year. Moving towards the back, there's no C-pillar anymore. You get this rear quarter panel here, and then this accented design splash, let's call it. It reminds me a little bit of the original smart car, that same kind of contrast angular design element at the rear of the vehicle. Obviously, the smart car used its design accent as part of the body structure. For the Niro EV, that's not required, but what it does have is a hidden air channel that pushes the air through this piece of plastic and out the other side of the rear lights. This improves aerodynamic performance and therefore improves overall vehicle efficiency because it creates a clean airflow from the side of the vehicle all the way through to the rear.
Inside the trunk you get 22.8 cubic feet of space. That's about 646 litres, which Kia are at pains to point out is about 50% more than a Model 3. I have no idea why they would mention that. It has a really good flat load bay entrance and, as with the outgoing model, plenty of space underneath for all the bits and bobs. However, unlike the previous variant where there was a storage space under here for the tonneau cover, there doesn't appear to be one here, and it is not included as standard. There is just a compressor under here and a can of Fix-A-Flat. This space is also largely taken up with part of the amplifier. Probably that harks back to the car's heritage as a multi-fuel platform. It is a little disappointing because it is quite a chunk of space that's taken up. The rear seats, of course, fold completely flat, and they do offer ISOFIX for child seats. You'll notice I started with the trunk open, and there is a reason for that. Unlike the outgoing model, this one does have motorized lifts, which mean that you can just press a button and it closes. And it closes with a reassuring clunk, which is quite a change. The old Niro had a very lightweight trunk. I'm not sure if this one's aluminium because now it has motorized lifts and I can't take the weight from it, but it definitely sounds better quality, and that is one of the things that we felt going around the car. You do have a chunky rear spoiler at the back here with a big integrated LED brake light, which is very visible. You do get a tail wagging little rear windscreen wiper, which makes me happy, but one thing that is slightly unfortunate is the reversing camera has moved down nearer to the number plate. That means that you can't just add the optional aftermarket extra which would wipe your camera when you reversed. There's no little spray there to clean it, so you just use your thumb. It does have, however, the nifty new Niro logo, very angular, cyber, very futuristic, and that goes with the kind of angular rear lights. You do get parking sensors front and rear, which is a really nice improvement. The original Niro only had them at the rear.
Behind the wheel, this car has a very neat function that when you close the door moves the seat into the position it was last in. There are 2 seat profiles, which means if you and your partner have a different seating position, you can store them quite easily to recall at a touch of a button. And I believe they are also remembered by the key, certainly as the phone as a key, so that if you get in the car and you unlock it, the car should automatically remember that it's you and get your seat and your mirrors to the position that you like. Talking of the seat, it is a 6-way power adjustable with lumbar support, and there's no animal product in the interior of this car. Everything is vegan friendly, at least I believe so, based on the various press reports I've read. The roof here is made from recycled wallpaper. There's post-consumer PET recycled materials throughout the cabin, and everything is very nice. There's a certain upmarket feel about this car. It is $44,000 in this particular trim, which isn't exactly the most affordable EV on the market. The Bolt EV, the Bolt EUV and the Nissan Leaf are all available for less. But even the base trim variant of this, the Niro EV Wind, is well appointed for its price point, about $41,000 US. The steering wheel of this car is the same as the steering wheel found in the EV6 and other Kia Hyundai vehicles. That means lots of the controls are within easy reach. You've got paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel for adjusting regenerative braking. The switchgear is very nice and well built, and the drive mode is way down here at the bottom of the steering wheel, where the boost mode is on the Genesis GV60. I have feelings about the drive mode button being all the way down there, but I feel less strongly about it than I felt about the boost mode being way down there on the Genesis, because frankly, while you may want to use the boost mode in a hurry to get yourself out of trouble in the Genesis, the Kia EV Niro's drive mode selector is something that you shouldn't be messing with while you're driving along. You've got 2 different sets of toggle switches on either side of the steering wheel, and then behind that you've got not 1 but 2 10.25-inch full color customizable displays. I love how these displays don't get in your face while you are driving, and that's aided, certainly in this trim variant, by a very clear, easy to follow and fully customizable head-up display. It means my eyes are up rather than down, and that makes me a safer driver. Talking of driver safety, this car has a whole slew of advanced level 2 driver assistance features. They include lane departure warning, lane keep assist, and that all bundles together into a great package that will follow the road ahead and also even help you change lanes if required. Obviously, it's not full self-driving or anything quite as fancy, but because this car has over-the-air software update capability, Kia said that there will be some updates coming which will improve the car's semi-autonomous capabilities, and of course, that is an instant win compared to the previous generation. The center console is laid out very nicely, and while I'm not a particular fan of the fully connected center console, in other words, there's no gap at the front between the floor and the touchscreen display, everything is within easy reach. You've got all of the heated seat and cooled seat controls, the heated steering wheel control, the auto hold button, and also the parking brake. On the other side, plenty of easy reach buttons for the passenger to activate their heated and cooled front seat controls, and you also have the parking assist buttons. The power button is right here in the center console rather than up by the steering wheel, which makes it an easy place to reach and one you don't have to look for when you get behind the wheel. And the gear selector is the good old rotary selector that has been found in Kia Niro EVs since they first rolled off the production line. The other thing to bear in mind, the sun visor is really easy to move. I just clonked myself as I went past there. but it's much better than it would be in most EVs, and there's a decent amount of headroom. This is not set up in my driving position, it's actually a modification from where Kate was sitting when she was driving, but you get the idea. And unlike a lot of modern EVs where you feel cocooned inside the vehicle, the Niro EV is a nice airy place to be, especially if you have this manually sliding cover on the sunroof open. There's also something to be said for not having a full-length glass panoramic roof, especially for the rear seat passengers. It does mean it's a lot easier to control the amount of light in the cabin without going full hog on a full-length roller to shade the moonroof, or indeed having fancy photochromic glass. And that's a feeling that we've got in this car throughout. It's a very competent, very well-built family car that's a family car. It's got a great audio system. This has got the premium sound package, but it's not the best sounding audio you're ever going to get. For its price point though, and for its direct competitors, this is a far more pleasant cabin to be in than either the Nissan Leaf or the Chevrolet Bolt EV. In the rear, there's not as much headroom as some other vehicles on the market, but if you compare this like for like with the Leaf and the Bolt EV, it's fairly comparable both in terms of legroom and also in terms of roof height. My head is just thinking about brushing the ceiling if I sit up, but honestly, this would be fine for a short distance trip. Like the EV6, you get this weird seat with an integrated coat hanger. I really don't like this design. It's honestly the thing that I like least about this car, but I can't fault it because it's incredibly practical. Because this is the high-end premium variant, equivalent to what the old EX Premium was, you do get rear heated outboard seats, and rear seat passengers both get their own USB charging socket integrated into the seat in front. You also get adjustable vent controls, but no way to adjust the climate control from back here. There's a center armrest with a cup holder if you want to have just 2 people instead of 3 in the back. And while this is technically a 5-seat car, I don't think I'd want to have 3 people back here for any extended period of time. That said, the rear floor is completely flat, so the person who's playing piggy in the middle doesn't have to straddle a transmission tunnel. And for a car that's built on a shared platform, that's a very good thing indeed. Just like all of the other Hyundai Kia vehicles to come out in the last couple of years, this also has vehicle-to-load capabilities. Kate talked about it a little bit at the front, and that means that rear seat passengers get access to a 110 volt in North America, obviously be 230 volts in markets where that is the normal mains current, in the form of a socket under the seat. That means you can power mains appliances in the back of the car. So your laptops and your mobile phones can be charged up using mains electricity, or if you're going on a long distance road trip, you could even stick a little mains powered cooler back here to keep your beverages lovely and cool. And on that note, we are done with our walk around of the Kia Niro EV. Keep your eyes peeled. Our drive review is going to be dropping ever so soon. And because it's a bright, sunny winter's day, we're using our cell phones rather than our usual teleprompters. I know it's not quite as polished to do that, but hopefully you'll forgive us. If you liked this video, you know what to do, and feel free to tip us with a super thanks. The comments are, of course, open for your thoughts, as is our Discord server. Link below. If you want more, subscribe, hit the bell and follow the links below to regularly support us with a YouTube membership or a Patreon subscription. You'll also find links to our Ko-fi, Bitcoin and swag store, and check out our very own Mastodon server where you can follow myself, Kate and the rest of the team. We all have our own Mastodon accounts at mastodon.transportevolved.com.
Scrolling by on our right, are the names of our amazing charged up supporters, and shout outs go to our self-driving tier supporters Mike Weeder, Patrick Boyarski, Chris Maxwell, Brian Newton, Michael Goad, Bennett Elder, Andrew Martin, Pedro Muro Pinheiro, Brophy Wolf, Chris and Michael Johnson, Tesla in the Gong, Dan Blair, Peter Dillinger, Gordon C, Stephen O'Donoghue, Kyle Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Regine Fellows, Denny Hyde, Chris Ascenta, and Jim Burness. Finally, out of this world, thanks to our Starman supporters Andrew Glenn, Anonymous Freak, JP Fagerback, Joe Bresney, John Lyons, Rory Litwin, Kevin Burbridge, Dave Kitchen, Laura Reynolds, Marcel Ward, Matthew Drobnak, Paul Conway, Reggie Watts, Will Graylan, and
Ian! We'll get told off for singing, but I don't care. Anyway, that is it. Thanks for joining us, and as always, keep evolving. I didn't know what to do with my hands, so there's this awkward bit where I'm trying to find my pocket. All right, here we go.
I have pockets. I'm a perfectly normal human who can work clothes.